The cold void of space stretched endlessly, a canvas of darkness and distant stars. An alien fleet, sleek in silver, glided silently toward the uncharted star system. Every ship was a testament to their civilization's technological mastery. They had sensors that could detect life forms on distant planets and shields that could withstand almost anything. Their fleet commander, Admiral Reith, had led countless exploratory missions without encountering anything they could not understand. Analyst Tovrek, his second-in-command, observed the incoming sensor readings with a calm, analytical eye. They were supposed to confirm the emptiness of the system. Instead, something unusual appeared. Faint distortions in the void, subtle movements that could not be explained by natural cosmic phenomena, flickered across the alien screens. "It is nothing," Admiral Reith said confidently. "Probably some small cosmic disturbance." Tovrek's eyes narrowed. The patterns were too structured. They repeated in ways that suggested intelligence, not randomness. He tapped his console to magnify the images. The distortions were forming shapes, patterns that shifted in ways that could not be caused by natural events. "Admiral," he said, "these are not natural. Something is in the system." Reith frowned, but did not panic. "Show me," he said. Tovrek brought up the magnified sensors. The images were faint, almost invisible, but they clearly showed multiple forms, moving in synchronized patterns. The fleet had never encountered anything like this. The distortions were real, yet they left almost no signature dot. At the same time, human warships lay hidden within the system. Captain Kang De Hyan stood on the bridge of the flagship, his eyes on the alien fleet approaching through the sensor readouts. "They are scanning for us," he said calmly. "Do not make sudden moves. Let them see what they expect." Tactical Officer Lee Sun-woo nodded. "Understood, Captain. All systems are on low signature. Weapons are ready, but not armed." Sensor Chief Park Ji-yeon monitored the alien fleet carefully. "They are moving slower than I expected, almost cautious. But their sensors are very strong. We need to remain undetected." The human warships were smaller, simpler than the alien ships, but they were designed to do something the aliens had never faced: hide in plain sight and manipulate sensor data. Engineer Choi Era adjusted the energy profiles of the ships, making them appear smaller or larger, hotter or colder, depending on what the aliens' instruments expected. The alien fleet began closer scans, sending out pulses and waves of energy to measure the system. But the readings returned impossible results. Mass appeared where there was none. Ships moved without leaving a trail. Weapons signatures flashed briefly and vanished before confirmation. Tovrek stared at the data. "Sir, our sensors. They cannot stabilize. We cannot get a clear reading." Reith's calm demeanor began to falter. "Check the systems. There must be interference from the system itself. Recalibrate every sensor on every ship." Tovrek did so, but each attempt only worsened the confusion. The readings became chaotic. The shapes moved in patterns that changed faster than the recalibration could adapt. It was as if the aliens were seeing multiple realities at once, none of which made sense. On the human ships, Captain Kang and his officers watched the alien confusion with quiet satisfaction. "They believe it is their technology failing," Kang said. "Let them believe it. This is what we planned. We are testing them without alerting them to our true strength." Choi Era smiled faintly. "Our ships are like ghosts to them. They cannot touch us, but they cannot ignore us either." Admiral Reith called a meeting of the alien fleet's command council. "Tovrek, report again. What is happening to our sensors?" Tovrek's tentacles trembled slightly. "Sir, the readings are not just failing. They are contradictory. The instruments cannot determine if these ships are moving or stationary, visible or invisible. Weapons signatures appear, then vanish. Our calculations cannot keep up. Something intelligent is manipulating the readings. The council murmured in disbelief. Intelligent manipulation? Impossible, one officer said. Reith's voice was firm, but tinged with uncertainty. We have faced many intelligent species. This is something new. We must proceed cautiously. Meanwhile, the human warships repositioned. Without activating weapons or sending detectable signals, they formed patterns around the alien fleet. From the alien sensors, the ships seemed to appear and disappear at random, sometimes clustering, sometimes scattering. The fleet tried to track them, but each recalibration produced only more chaos. Tovrek's eyes widened. Sir, they are surrounding us. According to our calculations, they should not be able to be in these positions. Reith clenched his hands. Then our calculations are wrong. Prepare defensive measures, but do not engage. We cannot strike what we cannot see. On the human flagship, Kong watched quietly. Maintain formation. They are learning fear without knowing it. Let them feel it. The alien fleet struggled with the concept that their sensors, the pinnacle of their technology, were failing so completely. For the first time in the history of their civilization, they faced uncertainty on such a scale. Fear began to spread quietly among the ranks. Defensive protocols activated automatically, even though there was no immediate threat. Automated weapons struggled to lock on, failing repeatedly. Admiral Reith realized they were facing an entirely different kind of warfare. Not by force, but by psychological dominance and clever manipulation of expectation. We have never faced an enemy like this, he admitted reluctantly. Analyst Tovrek, though troubled, found a spark of fascination. They are using subtle energy manipulation, perhaps even cloaking, combined with deliberate patterning. They know what we expect and deny it to us. It is a level of strategic thinking we have not observed before. Reith's face was stern. Then we must proceed with caution. Observe, but do not engage. We cannot risk destruction from something we do not understand. The human ships shifted once more, subtly changing power signatures. To the aliens, it seemed as if they had multiplied. It was a controlled dance, a demonstration of power without direct confrontation. The alien sensors registered chaos everywhere. Tovrek's readings flashed warnings he had never encountered before. Captain Kong's voice was calm on the human bridge. They think they control the situation. Let them learn differently. This is a lesson they will never forget. The void remained silent, the stars indifferent witnesses to the unfolding encounter. The alien fleet, though advanced and confident, faced the unnerving reality that they were not the masters of this space. Humans, small and simple compared to their technology, had introduced a level of unpredictability that shattered their assumptions. For the first time, humans in the galaxy did not simply face stronger civilizations. They could control perception, manipulate expectations, and cause panic without firing a single shot. And in this moment, in the cold and silent void, the first whispers of fear touched the alien fleet. It was subtle but unmistakable. The encounter had begun, and the humans had already shown that they were not to be underestimated. The alien fleet continued to drift cautiously through the star system. Each ship moved with precision, yet the readings from their sensors were in constant conflict. Mass readings suggested multiple objects in one space. Heat signatures appeared and vanished, and strange energy pulses defied all known patterns. Admiral Reith paced his command room, his usually calm demeanor strained. Tovrek stood nearby, staring at the screens. Sir, we cannot make sense of what we are seeing. Every attempt to isolate the anomalies results in more errors. I have never encountered anything like this. Reith rubbed his tentacles in thought. This is not natural. Prepare for manual observation. All long-range sensors must be recalibrated. The crew worked quickly, sending technicians to recalibrate the sensors ship by ship. Yet each adjustment only seemed to increase the confusion. Shapes shifted, multiplied, and disappeared, as if mocking the alien fleet's attempts to see clearly. Weapon systems, which relied on sensor precision, could not lock onto any target. Missiles and lasers that should have been visible seemed to dissolve before confirmation. "Sir," Tovrek said, his voice tight, "they are not just hiding. They are controlling how we see them. Every movement, every energy output is designed to mislead us. This is advanced strategic thinking." Reith's antennas twitched nervously. "We have never seen intelligence this subtle. It is as if they are inside our heads, predicting our every calculation." Meanwhile, Captain Kang De-Hyan watched from the bridge of the human flagship. "They are panicking," he said quietly. "Hold steady. Do not give them cause to attack." Sensor Chief Park Ji-eun nodded. "Their fleet is becoming more erratic. Their automated defenses are firing at shadows, at false readings. They do not know what to trust." Tactical Officer Lee Sun-woo observed the alien ships on the long-range scanner. They are trying to form a defensive perimeter, but every adjustment creates new errors. It is beautiful to watch in a strange way. Engineer Choi Era adjusted the power fields of the human ships once more, carefully manipulating the readings so that the aliens could never get a full picture. "They will continue to think they are in control," she said, "until they realize they are not." The alien fleet attempted to communicate with what they thought was a signal source. They sent out pulses and coded transmissions, but the human ships did not respond in the usual manner. Instead, they subtly adjusted their emissions to mimic natural cosmic noise, further confusing the aliens. Tovrek reported, "The signal is fragmented. It splits, moves, and vanishes. We cannot track it." Admiral Reith's voice was tense. "Maintain formation and continue analysis. We cannot act until we know what we face. Launch recon drones if necessary." Drones were sent out, but the same phenomenon occurred. They encountered objects that appeared in multiple places at once, energy readings that made no sense, and signals that disappeared before they could be analyzed. Each drone returned incomplete or contradictory data, increasing the fleet's anxiety. Back on the human flagship, Kang observed the aliens' reactions with quiet satisfaction. They believe they are losing control, but we are merely testing them. Let them learn the limits of their own technology. Lee Sun-woo smiled faintly. They think they are the hunters. In reality, they are being observed and studied. Choi Era explained to the captain, "Our warships are designed to exploit expectations. They rely on calculations and predictions. We feed them uncertainty, and it becomes chaos in their systems. They cannot fight an enemy they cannot measure." Reith called another council meeting. The tension was palpable. Tovrek explained the failures again. "Why do our systems fail to detect a clear target?" Tovrek gestured to the floating holographic images. The objects manipulate their energy output to appear differently in every sensor. They create illusions and false positions. Our calculations cannot catch up. Our predictions are ineffective. This is strategic thinking at a level we have never seen. An officer protested, "Sir, how can a species so small and seemingly weak achieve this?" Reith did not answer immediately. He knew there was no easy explanation. His fleet had always relied on technological dominance. Their power, precision, and sensors gave them confidence. Now, none of that mattered. Meanwhile, on the human bridge, Kang gave precise orders. "Reposition slightly. Make the next phase subtle. Do not provoke them. Only demonstrate control." Park Ji-eun adjusted the sensors and watched the alien fleet struggle to keep up. Every time we shift, they calculate a response that never works. They try to correct, but we are always one step ahead, invisible but present. The alien fleet fired a warning shot at what they thought was an approaching human ship. The laser beam flared briefly and disappeared before reaching its target. Tovrek shouted, "The weapon cannot lock on. It does not register where the ship is." Reith's frustration was evident. "Pull back all weapons. Focus only on understanding. We cannot destroy what we cannot find." The humans observed silently. They had never fired a shot, yet they controlled the entire situation. Kang reflected on the centuries of human history, where cunning, strategy, and improvisation allowed weaker forces to overcome stronger ones. This encounter was no different, only on a cosmic scale. Choi Era smiled. "They will leave believing our fleet is supernatural. It is our advantage that we are human." Lee Sun-woo added, "They rely on logic and predictability. Humanity is full of surprises." As the alien fleet continued to struggle, panic spread among their ranks. Automated systems misfired, crew members became anxious, and trust in their own calculations faltered. Tovrek's calm analysis could not ease the fear that Admiral Reith now carried. Reith finally said aloud, "We are facing an intelligence we cannot measure. Our technology is useless against them. We must proceed carefully, or risk destruction by misjudgment alone." The human fleet held position, observing but not attacking. They allowed the aliens to understand the limits of their own sensors, demonstrating that strength was not only about weapons or numbers, but perception and adaptability in the void. The alien fleet was trapped in its own uncertainty. Every attempt to understand the humans failed. Every calculation produced new errors. Panic, subtle but deep, coursed through the ranks. Humans, small and seemingly fragile, had gained the upper hand without firing a single shot. The first lesson in this encounter was clear. Power was not only measured in strength, but in intelligence and control over perception. The humans had taught that lesson silently and effectively, leaving the aliens in total panic. The alien fleet drifted through the dark space, struggling to understand the chaos around them. Their sensors continued to show impossible readings. Objects appeared in multiple places at once. Heat signatures flickered unpredictably, and weapon systems could not lock on to anything. Admiral Reith's pride was challenged in a way he had never imagined. On the human flagship, Captain Kang Dae-hyun observed the aliens' confusion carefully. "They are learning that control can be an illusion," he said. "Do not reveal our full capabilities yet." Tactical Officer Lee Sun-woo nodded. "Our patterns are keeping them off balance. They think they understand, but they are wrong." Engineer Choi Era adjusted the ship's energy signatures again. "It is simple psychology. They expect rules and patterns. We create unpredictability. That is enough to disorient them." On the alien command bridge, Tovrek tried to analyze what he was seeing. "Sir, our calculations fail because the objects do not obey physical expectations. They move, vanish, and reappear where they should not. They anticipate our responses and manipulate the results." Reith's antennas twitched nervously. "How is that possible? Our technology should be far superior." Tovrek replied, "They are using intelligence we have not faced. It is strategic thinking, not force. It cannot be measured by sensors alone." Meanwhile, on the human ships, Kang gathered his officers in the observation room. "We are showing them the principle of human warfare," he explained. "Humans survive against stronger opponents by confusing them, not confronting them directly. Our fleet demonstrates that." Lieutenant Kim Sejeon nodded. "Throughout history, humans have adapted to unpredictable threats. That is our strength. We rely on cunning and flexibility." Park Ji-yoon adjusted the sensor readouts. "The aliens cannot process the multiple layers of our strategy. They are seeing anomalies and interpreting them as threats. Their systems are failing to stabilize." Choi Era added, We are testing their reaction speed without revealing our intent. Every move we make is deliberate, but it appears chaotic to them. The aliens continued to try to form defensive formations. They shifted ships, recalculated positions, and activated automated defenses. But the human fleet moved silently, subtly, and unpredictably. Every adjustment the aliens made resulted in more confusion. Their long-range scans could not distinguish real targets from false readings. Reith called for a tactical council. The officers were anxious and restless. Tovrek, how can we engage when our weapons cannot find a target? Tovrek gestured to the holographic projections. The enemy manipulates expectations. They are not relying on firepower, but on control over perception. Any direct attack will fail because we cannot confirm their positions. An officer muttered, "How can a smaller, less advanced species achieve this?" Reith's expression was grim. They do not rely on technology alone. They use thought and strategy. This is intelligence in its purest form. On the human ships, Kong smiled faintly. Let them realize that intelligence and patience can be more powerful than size or weapons. This is our doctrine. We fight smarter, not harder. Li Sun-Wu observed the alien fleet. Every time they attempt to lock on, they misfire or hesitate. Their fear grows quietly, like a shadow. Park Ji-yoon nodded. They believe they are in control. The illusion makes their panic stronger. The human fleet continued subtle maneuvers, demonstrating complete command without aggression. To the aliens, it seemed as if ships multiplied and vanished, then reappeared in impossible angles. Their systems tried to compensate, but each correction made their readings less reliable. Reith's frustration became apparent. We have never faced an enemy that does not act predictably. Our calculations fail. Our assumptions are useless. We must find another way to understand them. Tovrek looked at him seriously. We are witnessing the doctrine of a species that relies on thought, adaptability, and deception. They have studied us without confrontation, learned our limitations, and exploited them. This is true strategy. The aliens' panic grew, though they did not openly show it. Their crew questioned their own technology, doubted the reliability of their calculations, and feared that an invisible enemy could strike at any time. The human fleet maintained complete silence, never firing, never making threatening gestures, yet controlling the encounter entirely. On the human ridge, Kong reflected on human history. We have survived countless threats through ingenuity, flexibility, and misdirection. It is the same principle here. Size and strength do not guarantee victory. Awareness, planning, and patience do. Choi Era smiled. We demonstrate power without violence. They measure us by their instruments and find only uncertainty. That is enough to unbalance them. Li Sun-Wu observed the alien fleet's response patterns. Their confidence is failing. Each reaction they make is slower, less precise. They do not trust their own sensors anymore. Kong nodded. That is the point. True power lies not only in force, but in control over perception. Let them experience it fully. As the encounter continued, the alien fleet's confidence eroded further. Automated systems misfired repeatedly. Calculations produced contradictory results, and the crew's morale faltered. The realization began to settle in that they were facing a species that could control the battlefield without firing a shot. Reith understood, at last, the truth of the human approach. They are not our equals in technology alone. They are our equals in mind and strategy. That is why our systems fail. Tovrek nodded. They are teaching us the limits of our sensors, the limits of our assumptions, and the dangers of underestimating intelligence. This is more valuable than any battle. On the human flagship, Kong observed silently, confident that the aliens were learning a lesson that would resonate long after the encounter ended. Humans, small but cunning, had revealed that the battlefield was not only physical, but mental. And in this void of space, the doctrine of human warfare was clear. Strength lies in intelligence, adaptability, and the power to remain unseen until the moment of advantage. The alien fleet drifted in confusion, their sensors failing to give any reliable readings. Objects appeared in impossible locations, heat signatures came and went, and weapons could not lock onto anything. Admiral Reith tried to maintain control, but his confidence had begun to falter. The crew whispered among themselves, uncertain of what they faced. On the human flagship, Captain Kang Ge-Hyen watched the aliens carefully. "They are ready to panic completely," he said calmly. "It is time to initiate contact, but carefully. We do not want to fight yet." Tactical Officer Lee Sun-woo nodded. "All systems ready for a narrowband transmission. We can communicate without revealing our full positions." Sensor Chief Park Ji-young adjusted the communication array. "Signal is prepared. It should pass through their interference and be clear enough for them to understand." Engineer Choi Era double-checked the energy fields. "We can control the display of our ships. They will see us, but only what we want them to see. It will reduce panic slightly for the message." Kong activated the narrowband transmission. A calm voice filled the alien fleet's sensors, cutting cleanly through the chaos. Diplomatic Officer Han Soo-jin's voice carried clarity and authority. "This is humanity. Your fleet is detected. Our intent is not hostile. We are conducting a standard patrol of this system. No action will be taken without dialogue." The aliens froze, their instruments processing the unexpected communication. Tovrek's tentacles quivered as he analyzed the message. "Sir, they are. Speaking directly. They are intelligent, aware of us, and in control of their presentation." Reith's voice was steady, but tense. "Repeat the transmission. Ensure it is understood." The message was broadcast again, slower this time, with visual indicators. A faint pattern of human ship positions accompanied the voice, simple and clear. The alien sensors struggled to read it, yet the meaning was unmistakable. For the first time, the alien fleet experienced something unfamiliar: restraint. The humans, though capable of total control and chaos, chose not to attack. Tovrek looked at Reith. "Sir, they could destroy us easily. Yet they do not. This is a calculated choice." Reith nodded slowly. "We have underestimated them. Our sensors failed, but their intention is clear. They are in command without aggression." On the human ships, Kang instructed Han Soo-jin. "Continue the message. Let them see we can act at will, but we choose diplomacy first." Han Soo-jin's calm voice repeated, "Humanity does not seek conflict with your fleet. Observe our positions, recognize our capability, and understand that we value dialogue above combat." The aliens' panic began to stabilize. Tovrek noted that the chaotic readings were slowly becoming manageable. "Sir, the sensor chaos is reducing. It appears intentional, as if the moment of communication reduced uncertainty." Reith processed this quietly. "They are teaching us control. Intelligence can create panic, and intelligence can remove it. We are learning from their restraint." The human fleet held formation, moving subtly but not threateningly. The aliens attempted to track them, but their calculations still produced errors. They realized that the humans could control their visibility at will. Ships that seemed to vanish reappeared where they expected, only to disappear again. Every adjustment reinforced the humans' dominance of perception. Kong spoke to his officers. "This is the demonstration of strength. Not by fire, but by presence. Let them understand what it means to face a species that can control the battlefield without a single shot." Lee Sun-woo observed the alien fleet. Their automated weapons are inactive. They cannot risk misfiring against what they cannot detect. Confidence is eroding slowly. Choi Era added, "We could attack and destroy them easily, but that is not the lesson. We show that restraint is as powerful as aggression." On the alien flagship, Reith convened his council. "Our fleet has never encountered a species that controls perception so completely. Our assumptions about strength and technology have failed. We must acknowledge that they dictate the terms of engagement." Tovrek addressed the council. "They teach a lesson in strategy. They are not larger, faster, or more advanced in hardware. Yet they hold absolute control over the interaction. That is intelligence superior to any weapon." Admiral Reith realized that the human fleet had created a paradox: chaos without aggression, dominance without attack. The panic that had gripped his officers began to subside, replaced with awe and cautious respect. The aliens' own systems were no longer failing in panic, but attempting to adapt to a new understanding of what power could mean. The humans maintained their calm. Subtle presence, proving that mastery of thought and control over perception was a weapon in itself. Kang reflected on the centuries of human adaptation to stronger opponents. Strategy, intelligence, patience, and observation had always allowed humans to survive. This encounter was another chapter in that tradition, but on a galactic scale. The alien fleet powered down weapon systems gradually, signaling acknowledgement. Tovrek confirmed the reading. "Sir, they recognize our message. They respect it. We are not attacked. Our sensors are stable enough to understand their positions." Reith exhaled. "We withdraw no threat, and yet we feel their strength. This species does not fight like any we know. We have seen a new definition of power." Kong smiled faintly as he observed the aliens' response. They understand that power is not only in numbers or firepower. It is in control of perception, in patience, and in the ability to choose when not to fight. Let them learn it fully. Park Ji-yoon adjusted the final sensors, ensuring the communication link remained clear. Their systems are recovering, but they now have knowledge that they will not forget. The humans are not a threat only in combat, but in intelligence and will. The alien fleet began a slow, careful retreat, carrying the lesson they had not expected. Humanity was a force beyond measurement, capable of controlling even panic itself. The first contact had ended without a single shot fired, but the echoes of human strategic mastery would follow them for a long time. The void of space returned to quiet, but the balance of understanding had shifted. Humans had proven that strength is measured not only in ships and weapons, but in intelligence, patience, and the ability to command respect through restraint. In this silent ballet of perception and thought, the humans had emerged victorious without aggression, leaving the aliens both awed and cautious. The alien fleet began its slow withdrawal from the star system, their ships moving carefully and with a new respect. Every sensor was active, analyzing the humans' actions, yet no pattern could fully explain their behavior. Admiral Reith stood on the bridge of his flagship, silent for a long moment. Considering the encounter, Tovrek approached cautiously. "Sir, we have observed their restraint, their control, and their ability to manipulate perception. Our fleet has never faced an intelligence like this." Reith nodded slowly. "It is not brute strength. They have demonstrated power through thought, strategy, and patience. That is a new definition of power." On the human flagship, Captain Kang Dae-hyon watched the aliens leave. "They will remember this encounter," he said. "It is not enough to be strong. One must also know when to act, when to wait, and how to control the battlefield without firing." Tactical Officer Lee Sun-woo smiled. "Our philosophy has always been to fight smart. We let the opponent reveal their weaknesses. They miscalculate, they panic, and we learn. Today was a lesson for them." Park Ji-yoon monitored the sensors. "Their fleet is retreating, but every ship is recording and analyzing. They will carry this lesson to their civilization. Engineer Choi Era adjusted the energy fields, ensuring the human ships remained undetectable as they moved. They will leave believing that our control is absolute. They cannot measure us, yet they know we are a force to respect. Kong walked along the bridge, observing his officers at work. History is full of humans overcoming stronger foes through ingenuity and strategy. Today, we extend that legacy to the stars. The alien fleet continued to withdraw, scanning every angle, attempting to understand what they had faced. Their automated systems continued to analyze, but the conclusions remained incomplete. Tovrek recorded every detail, noting that human intelligence could not be measured purely by sensors or weapons. Reith spoke quietly to his officers. We must revise our understanding of combat. Strength is not only physical. Perception, adaptability, and intelligence can be more powerful than any weapon. The human fleet maintained silent observation. Kong reflected on the encounter. We chose not to engage in violence. That is our strength. They understand that power lies in choice, not aggression. Humanity is not only capable of war, but of controlling it without fighting. Lee Sun-woo added, "Every movement we made was deliberate, yet invisible to them in meaning." They responded as we expected. They learned the limits of their technology before any battle occurred. Park Ji-yoon nodded. They measure us and find only uncertainty. That uncertainty will shape their approach to humanity for generations. As the alien fleet retreated, the void returned to silence. The stars shimmered indifferent, yet the knowledge of what had occurred spread within the alien crews. They had been tested, observed, and outmaneuvered without a single miss. Shot being fired against them. Kong reflected on the centuries of human history and warfare. Humans had survived against stronger foes through intelligence, improvisation, and strategy. Today, they had applied the same principles to interstellar diplomacy and defense. Power could be demonstrated without destruction. Fear could be instilled without aggression. And respect could be earned through mastery of perception. Choi Era smiled faintly. They will not underestimate humanity again. And neither will their civilization. Lee Sun-woo looked at the starfield. It is remarkable. They came seeking understanding or patrol, and we showed them an entirely new way to measure strength. They leave changed. Kong nodded. This is the first contact, but it will be remembered. Not as a battle, but as a demonstration of human doctrine, intelligence, and restraint. We define our power not by weapons or numbers, but by our choices, our mind, and our will. The human fleet moved silently, observing the retreating alien ships until they were gone. The encounter ended without conflict, yet humanity's mark was made clear. The aliens carried the knowledge of what it meant to face a species capable of controlling perception and strategy beyond their understanding. Tovrek's final report to Reith summarized their experience. Humanity is not only adaptable, but unpredictable. They do not rely solely on weapons or speed. Their strength lies in strategy, observation, patience, and control of the situation. That lesson would remain with the aliens long after they returned to their home system. On the human flagship, Kong addressed his crew. We showed the galaxy that true power is intelligence, restraint, and the ability to choose. Humanity survives not only through force, but through mastery of thought. Today, the void itself has learned the limits of fear, chaos, and expectation. Park Ji-yoon recorded the final sensor data. They leave in awe, but they leave alive. That is the greatest proof of our strategy. No weapons, no destruction, yet absolute influence. Lee Sun-woo added, they will not forget the lesson. Humans can win by not fighting. That is our advantage, our doctrine, and our truth. Kong looked out at the stars. The void was silent, but the galaxy now knew humanity was a species to respect. Intelligence, patience, and control had defined victory, and humans had proven their doctrine beyond question. A new era of understanding began, one where strength was measured not by aggression, but by wisdom, choice, and perception. Humanity had shown that the greatest victory is one achieved without violence, and that lesson would echo across the stars forever.